Hello, it is April 7th, 2022. This is As the World Burns. I'm your host, Randall Burns. First, a disclaimer. I have no connection to Arcimoto other than being a shareholder, a holder of 3 Leaps, a potential customer with a deposit down, and having had a few of my tweets responded to by the company president. Other than that, I have no connection. Secondly, nothing in this video is financial advice. I am disclosing what I've done in the way of my investments and consumer habits. May not fit your situation. For investment advice, I suggest you consult a chartered financial analyst or other licensed professional. Now, the topic today is how the Arcimoto MLM fits into the existing bicycle small EV ecosystem. And I'll be doing a follow-up safety interview on safety that'll expand on this, but this is today's emphasis. Now, there's a few big advances in this one. One is 3x3 in a trike, which is I haven't seen one of those before. It's taking tilting into the e-bike market. It's a practical car replacement for more drivers because of its range, which is pretty dramatic. It has passenger and cargo capability, is a major move towards drive-by-wire, which has some advantages down the road. And it's backed by a publicly traded company, which is unusual in this market niche. Now, I previously mentioned that I think the seat needs to be a bit better to be suitable for a lot of people to sit in on a long period of time like it would be with something like that. And they also need a story on a bike rack transporting this with a regular car. Probably would require a trailer hitch bike rack of some type, but people are not going to drive it everywhere. Occasionally they're going to want to take it with them. And that's probably going to mean detaching the steering column in some way. At 100 pounds, it's going to be quite a bit heavier than most bikes, but I think they can create a story on this one. It may require a little bit of creativity and a little bit of careful engineering. I think they're certainly capable of doing that. Now, the tilting isn't anything new, and actually Arcimoto had the good sense to buy the tilting technology from another vendor that was based in Washington. But there have been a bunch of vendors like Honda and Yamaha, for example, that have entered into this tilting market and have floated trial balloons to see how it would fly. None of them have entirely taken off, but they've never also entirely gone away. So take that as you will. Arcimoto's existing offering is the FUV, which is an $18,000 three-wheel vehicle, which is available now. They're going to try to bring the price down on that. When it gets into production. Their goal is to get that down around the $12,000 level if they get into volume production. And its big redeeming feature is that it's available now and it carries a passenger. They're just now building a real factory with this one. I think their goal is 50,000 units in 2022-2023. An example of what is coming in the near future is Aptera, which is another three-wheel vehicle built from the ground up to be an EV and has some pretty compelling features, but it won't be available for another 1 to 3 years. Both the FUV and the Aptera are freeway-capable vehicles. The FUV has a smaller range. That's going to be increasing by the time the Aptera comes out, I would imagine. Of course, we have Chinese competition coming around in this area. This is from the Chinese scooter maker NIU, and it's a copy, I believe, of a BMW concept vehicle. But it seems like a reasonable quality vehicle if they can get it actually into production, and I think if it's not already. Now, a vehicle kind of close in concept to the MLM was the ELF from Organic Transit in North Carolina. And I don't know if this is still being made. The webpage appears to be taking orders now, but I think they went through a reorganization. This is not nearly as carefully engineered as the MLM. It does carry a passenger. It's kind of shoehorning the 2-passenger plus groceries into an e-bike using existing off-the-shelf parts. But they also have a canopy to keep people out of the weather. It's never made it into volume production, and I really doubt it will. It's kind of expensive also. Doesn't have the handling or the all-wheel drive that you have with the MLM, but it is the best they could do with fairly off-the-shelf parts and the type of production capability they had. Now, this is a tadpole trike from ICE. These are vehicles that were designed to be used with a chain and existing bike parts that have been where they've been re-engineered to have electric motors put into them. They're not designed from the ground up to be an EV like the MLM is. And they're designed to be light and fast and utilize existing parts. And I think they're fine vehicles for what they are. Now here's a similar tadpole trike from the U.S. manufacturer Cat Trike. There are literally dozens of manufacturers in this area of various sizes. Cat Trike and ICE are two of the bigger ones. And they have fairly refined products within the constraints they've been operating in. There's a lot of legacy engineering inherited there. I mean, they don't have things like two-passenger capability. They don't have all-wheel drive. They're relying on bike chains and off-the-shelf bike parts. But they are designs that have been refined in their niche for a number of years. Now, the Segway was introduced by San Francisco venture capitalist John Doerr several years ago, and there was a lot of hoopla. He was saying it was going to revolutionize urban transportation. Okay, now I actually know John Doerr. He was the brother of a neighbor of mine from the University of Chicago that lived literally just upstairs from me and was the roommate of an old friend and in medical student classmate. Now, John actually arranged my first interview in Silicon Valley, for which I am grateful. I didn't get the job, and we didn't really keep in touch, and I didn't utilize his contact, and I wish I'd appreciated him more. Now, there's been a lot of people saying, well, no, Segway didn't revolutionize urban transport the way that John thought it would. Well, I think that's actually wrong. It is revolutionizing urban transport. It's just not doing it the way that he thought it would or in the time frame that he thought it would. Okay, he was way off on those elements. But he's correct that self-balancing small electric vehicles are having a real impact on urban transportation. And this is part of the ecosystem that the MLM is coming into. Now, these are examples of what I call nano EVs, and there's ones that are even smaller, like electric electric roller skates. And again, they just haven't taken off. But these small electric kick scooters really have taken off, and they're becoming ubiquitous here in the Portland area. I went to visit a friend in Portland student housing last week, and I saw dozens of these scattered around outside there. Another class of vehicle which is also becoming common are electric unicycles. These actually have range, not maybe quite at the MLM level, but they're beyond what e-bikes are often. They're also in the middle of a regulatory quagmire. They can be ridden in bike lanes in some states and not in others, and that's all being sorted out as we speak. But these actually have pretty good range and speed capability. What these and the Segway both have in common, they both started out as American designs. They both have been industries that were taken over by Chinese companies early in their development, and their manufacturers are dominated now by Chinese companies. Now, we're also in a situation where autonomy is poised to take over. That has a lot of ramifications for e-bikes that I intend to go into in a safety-oriented video. First off, though, e-bike riders in the United States are much more vulnerable to accidents than car passengers. It's by like a 3 or 4 to 1 ratio. And it's not them themselves that's doing it. It is motorists that are at fault 90% of the time. The rise of autonomy is poised to change that dramatically. I intend to go over that more in the safety video, and it's going to be both for cars are going to become less dangerous to bicycles, and bicycles are going to be better able to defend themselves. That'll be covered in depth in my safety video. Now, as I mentioned in my obesity video, the U.S. is undergoing some real changes, both economic and health-wise and social, and they're not all positive. So lower-end vehicles have an important and growing niche in the United States. So that's going to affect both the FUV and the MLM. I think the MLM is to some of these changes. The FUV will not do anything for obesity rates, at least until L5 autonomy is available, and you can use a Peloton while you're riding in it. We're also having declining lower end asset accumulation among the younger generation. Now, another important figure to look at is the percentage of adults without a driver's license. Being without a driver's license is almost an economic death sentence in the United States. There's a few places like New York City and San Francisco where you can live comfortably without an automobile. The MLM, I think, has the potential to greatly expand that and change that and bring the 10-15% of the adult population without a driver's license back into the mainstream rapidly, especially when you combine this with robotaxi services, which are being enabled right now with Google and Level 4 autonomy. Judges have been hesitant to pull the driver's license of individuals that are clearly abusing their license privileges, like this drunk driver in Washington. He had several prior offenses, and they hesitated to pull his driver's license because he was a major employer in the city in which he offended. The MLM may change the attitudes of a few drivers rapidly. They may just say, no, you do have an alternative to driving. You don't need to be driving a car for what you need to do, and get off the road. And I would estimate that 10, 15, 20% of the existing license holders really shouldn't have a driver's license. They really should be relegated to vehicles like the MLM, and they will be once the combination of MLM-like vehicles and robotaxis become broadly available. Okay, it probably would actually be better for this man's life. He doesn't look very happy to me. Taking away his Ferrari might be the wake-up call he needs to get his life together. Now, I like a lot of the features I see in the MLM. I'm concerned whether, as they exist now, whether they are a big enough moat to take this into really high volume production and to avoid having Chinese competition come into the market just quite rapidly. I've encouraged them to put sensors in there immediately to start collecting data for autonomy features down the road in a few years. There are other niche markets they can go into, like I detailed in my wheelchair video. And there'll be more that I have to say on this in my safety video that's upcoming. The real immediate competitor may be Shimano, which manufactures the gearing systems that almost every e-bike uses right now. Precisely all the higher quality e-bikes. If Arcimoto can move in the direction of developing a wider moat, a wider and deeper moat, I will be buying more stock. I mean, until then, I'm kind of where I want to be with it. I'm pretty clear personally that the Platform 2 is not a distraction for Arcimoto. I think it makes a lot of sense that they have a e-bike capable platform and a highway capable platform. Now, the Platform 2 may eventually evolve into a highway capable platform. There are highway capable e-bikes available now. There's one made in Switzerland that really does have the types of features that you need to go on the highway with. So in time, they may engineer Platform 2 to have that capability, but it's not going to happen right away by any means. I'd really like to see Arcimoto work through their licensing story and actually acquire a few licensees, and there'll be more on that down the road. This is Randall Burns signing off for today. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you being here. Please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Suggestions for future episodes are welcome. Suggestions for improvements are welcome. I do try to respond to all comments here. See you later.